Sand, 2 parts salt, they would be on their own for getting that, or would they be part of the Board of Ed's contract with ONG?
No, they are on their own for providing materials.
Okay, and how do we measure and how do we monitor? I know it's a problem with contractors. These people will charge you for the sand and then use it in their other jobs too, because, I mean, they're not gonna stop and measure it. Why should they? During the middle of the
Well, no,
season.
they're not, but we're not paying them by the ton or the yard. It's part of the lump sum. So if he goes and fills the sander and he hits, I don't know,
So they're not
Jimmy's
using
store
our,
and then comes down here and does this, it's his responsibility to sand to what, if it's slippery, they gotta come back and
they're
re
not taking advantage of any contract we have with ONG or any arrangement with the
They have to
city.
provide everything on their own.
That's fine. I'm to the point where if it ain't broke, don't fix it. You know, and the trucks are broke, I know that, but that's our fault. And you know,
It is.
we spend money on lots of other things. If we need equipment, we should spend it on equipment.
Can we get the additional information and add it to next Wednesday's meeting?
Next Wednesday is an FOI training meeting. We could add a special board meeting for after it. And that meeting right there is a FOI training.
Right, no, but I'm saying, because Dave had a lot more detailed information, and we
Yes.
knew in advance he couldn't be here tonight.
Yes.
But I think as the director of facilities, we'd be short-sighted to make a decision on this without him having the opportunity to give us the information.
He's out there. Next
He's
week
out
as
for 2
well.
weeks.
So have a special meeting early in November. Or it doesn't snow November 1st or what's that?
Okay.
But wasn't the whole point because they wanted the contract
Yep.
to start November 1st?
Yes.
So when is Dave back?
He will be back on the 27th.
27, yeah.
Interested in having a meeting where Dave returns?
Well, we'll have to get the information together and then we'll put out, if we can get a quorum, we'll have a special meeting and we'll discuss it.
I'd just like to say, I think this is a good little, I mean, I know you had your blue ribbon committee look at this aspect with shared services with the city, but I think this is a good avenue for the board to start looking at other areas in which we can share services with the city. And I think that's the direction that the mayor would like to go in.
Can we talk about that under comments for good of the order or upcoming things? It doesn't have anything to do with snow
Throw
removal.
things out when I think
I
about it.
You got a pen and you got a nice big piece of paper, you can write it down.
Right, like, you know.
All right. We're gonna need a motion to extend the meeting, and we're gonna need probably 45 minutes. We're gonna need a motion to extend to either 9:30 or 9:45.
I move that we extend to 9:45.
Second.
Okay? Discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, we're going to 9:45. The 3 opposed were Rader, Nargi, and Kiska. All right, I didn't say blame you. All right, turf project status. Andy?
As far as I see, we got the game that was scheduled for last Tuesday played. Everything's been on schedule since then. As far as the budget, I believe we're somewhere plus or minus around $5,000. I believe that's the way it is. Maybe the mayor knows more updated information.
On the budget, and I can't really speak to the budget. I know that there are additional items that have been determined to be needed or discovered to be needed, certainly as the state decided to deforest the area between the field and Route 8. You know, we realize our field is incredibly close to that highway. And Errant Ball is certainly going to either hits somebody's windshield as they're flying down Route 8, or certainly, roll out into the area. So the project itself came in on budget or slightly under budget, but there are additional items that I think can and should be invested in.
Is the state going to pick up the expense to
Oh, no.
safeguard their highway? It is their highway.
No, really, it is their highway, no, it's our balls.
Yeah, but they say keep the ball the other way.
Yeah. So, you do have in your board packet that I did sign off that the project was substantially completed. There are projects, there's a punch list that needs to be done. The north end of the fields, where there are still some of the track events that will
Right.
happen, that's still being done. And of course, the punch list will extend into the spring season as it relates to additional seeding and grading and stuff like that. That can't happen over the winter. But for the most part, and earlier in the evening, there was a game going on, and I can't help but say, even through the slivers of the shades, I mean, it is just such a beautiful complex. And certainly the pride of Torrington High School. Really excited about it.
And I'd just like to say, when you're out there now, I never realized what a really nice campus this school is. When you're, especially the days we were out there in the evening in the fall time, this campus really does sit in a beautiful location. I don't know if people realize. I never realized it until I spent that much time.
You're getting
out there.
emotional on us.
What's that?
You're getting emotional on us.
Yeah, well, it's just a really nice place. Yeah, that's,
Come on inside.
I will sing Kumbaya together.
right.
You don't want to hear me sing.
When will all the construction fencing be coming down?
The portion of the field that is still under construction, the north side, that will continue to be fenced off. I mean, it's a construction zone north, it's up there. The gates, the area, I'm sure that's probably the gating, the fencing you're talking about.
Yeah.
The decorative fencing or gate will be delivered, I want to say the 21st of October. So as soon as those gates are in and installed, all of that fencing will disappear.
Did the lights come too? No, those were.
I think they're about in the same timeline. Actually, they should be later this week. Yeah, and those lights are just in the path area, which is, the ADA path. Again, that path was always there. To Mr. Nargi's point, the people just had no idea that path existed back there. It was never lighted in the past. Certainly the area was identified as needing lighting. What we did find is once the lighting that's actually on the side of the building, above the gymnasium and locker room entrances, two of those lights have been out, and they've been out for a very long time. When those were replaced, it certainly did shower a whole lot more light on that path as well, as did the lights on the backside of the scoreboard.
Well, you had the storage containers there before that blocked any light from
I
getting
was
over
just
there.
gonna say, yeah, have a black hole that just.
Yeah, you weren't
absorbed
gonna-
the lights.
It was a secret.
It's a rubberized turf from what I think I understand about it.
The pellets that are inside yes.
Did the turf committee do any research or look into at all related to those rubberized mat turfs and non-Hodgkin's lymphoma?
I can't speak for what the turf committee did. Mr. Traub was on that turf committee in the early stages of it. I don't know if you can speak to that.
Well, a lot of things were brought up about different illnesses, but we were assured that they were not ever linked to turf field. I had brought up the infections that the Professional Soccer Players Associations won't play on them because of the skin infections. When I had brought that up, that was quickly dismissed as being more of a myth than a fact. And they said that if the field is maintained properly, that the bacteria levels are controlled, that doesn't happen.
For the non-Hodgkin's lymphoma?
No, for the skin infections, the non-Hodgkin lymphoma, I don't believe we ever discussed.
Well, I don't think there was a lot of evidence when they were doing that. I think the evidence is starting to mount that those pellets cause cancer, especially goalkeepers, football players.
Right.
Goalkeepers will tell you they inhale those when they fall on the turf.
Yes,
But
football.
Los Angeles, there's 3 cities now that have taken their fields. Doesn't mean you do away with the field. They've taken the pellets out, they
Pellets
put
out.
in
Right.
coconut husks instead, something natural that made it. Because that is a problem. There's, like in the state of Washington, there's 4 or 6 goalkeepers right now with Hodgkins that have played on artificial turf. That's like unheard of, you know.
And in California right now, there's 36, so I want to state for the record, because this turf thing has been such a bone of contention, and my biggest bone of contention with this entire turf field has been the rush to get this field in. I'm happy we have it. I don't want to hear, well, it's the pride of Torrington. I still have parents contacting me that are very worried about their kids playing on this turf. And then NBC just did a big special about the rubberized turf, and the concerns with its tires that are in that turf. So I would have been happier had we really vetted this out, because it really makes me nervous to be putting high school kids out there when we're not 100% sure that they're safe to be on that field. So that's just my 2 cents, and I would have liked to have us look at some other alternatives that aren't linked to the non-Hodgkin's lymphoma. And I hope to God that none of our kids, anything like that happens to them on that field.
Is it the AMA who's made that association, or is this just an association by occurrence? I mean, has this been medically
There's
Well,
been a
issues?
lot of-
You know, it's been studied, and they can't make a direct link right
Okay.
now, okay?
So I guess
It
my
could be
point would
coincidence.
and we've only got until 9:30 we've been extended to?
Yeah.
9:45.
9:45, to belabor this, I certainly think that it might be worth bringing the turf committee back if you continue to have questions about this, and certainly here, more importantly, let's bring the turf experts back and let them speak to the questions.
That'd be
If you still
great.
have questions.
Yeah, that'd be great. You know, because I think we do owe the parents that are concerned about this an explanation of why we made the decision to go with the rubberized versus the other fields that were out there. And we weren't involved in that decision, so I don't know what the answer to why that was.
Yes, John?
I share Fiona's concerns about this, and I would say it's probably not the doctors, but the trial lawyers who will be making the most noise about this over the next few months or years. It's just a shame we put parents in a situation where they have to decide whether or not they want their child to be playing a sport because of the surface they'll be playing on. It's been done, but I would agree with keeping the turf committee going and discussing this.
Right, especially if it's going to, the replacement and tracking.
Who controls that field? Is it still in the hands of the turf committee? Or the city?
Yeah, until the project is completed, as with any school construction project, until it is completed, 100% done, it is still a city
City.
project.
So you're legally responsible.
So is the Board of Education
No, I'm
and the
just
city.
asking you.
Right.
The Board of Education
Right.
and the city, we all have the same insurance.
Okay.
If there's a claim for liability or anything, it's a claim against the city.
Okay.
Which leads us to I.
Which means that.
I think we have a topic for the first one.
Okay.
Would you like to, I wasn't at the meeting, so, of when this
Oh.
was discussed.
About the.
This is
so
the city council,
request for
I got
meetings.
contacted by the newspaper.
Yeah.
You guys
Okay.
want to have 3 meetings?
So, and just on that, as you know, you yourself had
Yep.
said to me almost a year ago that you wanted to have meetings
Yep.
with us.
Well, not this budget, when the budget before that was passed, at the Board of Finance, it was expressed by the Board of Finance and the mayor that the Board of Ed and a Board of Finance member, well, the list of attendees was the superintendent, budget committee chair, board chair, business manager, a city council member, a Board of Finance member, and the mayor meet once a month to discuss the budget and where we are as the year goes forward. And that was supposed to be monthly. And I reached out for the first 3 months, and I received that they didn't have anybody that could attend, so the meetings just sort of died. I stopped asking.
Okay, so just by way of background, this discussion item came up in relationship to building better communication between the Board of Education and the City Council, especially in the context of our budgets and goal setting. I wish that I had thought to print these minutes out, because the minutes are almost verbatim the whole dialogue. And I think it would really enlighten the board as to what that conversation was. Pulling this out, I am quoted as saying, the Mayor Carbone added that the Board of Education acts as an agent of the state and is not a city agency. She said it needs to be looked at to some degree as a department of the city with some responsibility to the city.
Can I interrupt you 1 second?
Yeah.
Is that something that you could email to one
And
of
it's
these administrators?
absolutely, yeah,
We can go on to action items, we can print that out, and then we can all have it and discuss it instead of,
okay.
you know what I'm saying? If we could shoot that to somebody as an email, we can just start hammering through the action items, and then we can read that.
Okay, who has a printer or access to a
Here's
printer?
the printer right there.
Who has, I don't have the connected to that one.
I thought we didn't have.
No.
Okay.
Oh,
See, we're all-
Onto our computers.
okay. Well,
Room to next month?
I thought I was making it easier. Apparently, I once again did not make it easier. Just go away and shut up.